The 2017 campaign didn't start the way the Beavers were hoping. A lopsided loss to Colorado State sends OSU back to the drawing board for an in-state battle with upset-minded Portland State. Coach Gary Anderson joins us to discuss the debut of quarterback Jake Luton, where the defense looks to make strides, and the matchup with the Vikings. Beavers Inside the Huddle starts now.
Everybody be a playmaker. Here we go.
Toward the back of the end zone. Touchdown, Beavers!
Inside the Huddle is brought to you by your local Carrier heating and air conditioning dealer. Carrier, turn to the experts.
The doors of Reser Stadium will open up for the first time this season on Saturday morning, an 11 a.m. kick against the Portland State Vikings. Welcome into the Beavers Inside the Huddle studio, along with Steve Priest. I'm Dusty Hare. All right, let's jump right into it, Steve. The opener for the Beavs didn't go the way they planned. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's get right to it with a little bit of the good, huh?
Yeah, there was a lot of good, especially for the first half. It was a good football game then. They got a little bit out of the run. Ryan Nall looked fantastic a couple of times, 75-yarder. There were some good throws. I mean, you can't concern yourself with the passing game when Jake Luton throws for 304 yards. That's pretty darn good. They had a few good plays on defense. Hernandez makes a great move. Beats his guy, as you see, for about 8 or 10 yards. Just a marvelous effort by Timmy Hernandez, and he's a guy who can get open about anywhere. This was a very good throw after a couple of early misses that were really kind of what I would call the bad of our situation.
And you really started to see Jake Luton catch a rhythm after this. Those short throws that he was maybe missing a little bit earlier, after that connection on the deep ball, he started hitting the crossers and found Noah Tongiai quite a bit more. And it looked like he settled into a rhythm until later in the football game.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. And one thing that is a big part of that is the protection was really good. This is the best protection, or compared to last year, the first 4 games, the Beavers couldn't stop anybody. They had 1 sack. Offensive line played very well. As far as the passing game is concerned, they didn't block too well.
Well, and then we all saw Ryan Nall. He came back to life in this football game, one of the most explosive runs that we've seen out of the Central Catholic High School product. He showed just how special he is.
Well, those aren't linemen he's running away from. I mean, he's got great speed. Good blocks up front in that situation. I mean, that was as good a blocking scheme as we saw the entire game. But from the sideline where I was standing, it was really amazing. It was about right there where I was standing, and watching him leave people and accelerate beside those defensive backs is really amazing for a guy that weighs 235, 240 pounds.
And you had a good block from freshman wide receiver, too, Isaiah Hodgins, getting after it on the perimeter.
He doesn't look like a freshman blocking or catching the ball, but it's amazing to see a young kid like that out there taking people on.
Well, as the good happened, we had some bad and some ugly. Some of the bad was missing on those deep throws. You mentioned it a little bit earlier. He did hit Timmy Hernandez, but as you see right there on the screen, throws of over 20 yards, only 3 of 10 for Jake Luton. Meanwhile, 24 of 37 the rest of the way.
Well, you think these 2 passes, if they're on the money, the heck with getting a touchdown, but they're 20, 30 yards each, and what a big deal. When you go into a hostile place like that, you simply can't lose the opportunities when you get them. They're rare. It was a crazy crowd, a crazy day, extra hot. Having one of those 2 would have been tremendous.
Well, and on top of that, not only was it missing some of those throws, compounded by a 5 turnover game for the Oregon State Beavers.
Yeah, I would say that's your ugly as you watch some real hits. This Colorado State team set themselves up to do one thing, and that was to stop the run. They came and really made some plays, and then the big interception turnover that turned the ball game in the 3rd quarter. The Beavers had been in at 24-20, maybe even 24-24 if you have the right people looking at the tape, but the Beavers were in it, and one big turnover after another really hurt the Beavs.
Well, and down by 10 with just 10 minutes to go, the score of 31 points did not indicate how close this was in a yardage matchup right there.
Well, no question about it. I mean, as you said, they were 10 down. It was 10 minutes to go. They had just made a very nice play on a recovery and taken it right into the end zone. They've got them at 3rd and 8 and the big catch. And I got to say, Colorado State was a very good football team, a lot better than I expected. I will be surprised if they don't win 9-10 games this year. The skill positions were really good, and that particular play turned it to a 17-point game, and that was the end.
Well, the good thing about this happening in week 1 is that you get another week, and you got more weeks to come. Portland State is up next for the Oregon State Beavers. Let's talk to Coach Gary Anderson about what was last week in the performance against those Colorado State Rams. Gary Anderson joins us next on Inside the Huddle. We'll go back into the Beavers Inside the Huddle studio. Let's head down to the man himself, Gary Anderson, joining us live in Corvallis this evening. Coach Anderson, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing okay. How are you guys?
We're doing great, Coach. That was a good football team that you saw last week. A lot better than I think people realize. It looks like a 9 or 10 win team to me. But I think the Beavers were in it all the way through that first half. 24-20, could have been even 24-24. Played good football. A lot good happened. Talk about that, would you? The first 3 quarters of this football game.
Yeah, really until 11 minutes and 40 seconds left. They had a couple opportunities that the pick was big, obviously, but we still got that thing back down to 10 points with 11 minutes and change left. And then we got them 3rd and 6 or 7, and they hit a big one over the top of us, and that was a huge backbreaker. And then we blow a coverage a couple snaps later, and they hit an easy swing route for a touchdown. So, there was a lot of good things that took place in that football game. There was a lot of things that we need to definitely correct. And it's everywhere. It's not just at one position. It's not just offense or defense or special teams. And so we've obviously evaluated that very closely. I'm proud of a few kids, how they played, and they came through that game. I thought our team played with toughness throughout, and obviously both teams had to deal with the heat, and they battled through it, but there was toughness on both sides, both sidelines, in my opinion, as that game went on in a very tough environment. It was 117 degrees, and if you're not a tough team, you're going to not play real well late. And I thought both teams, we didn't play well late, but it was not for lack of effort, which you all know. I study that very hard when we come back every week after a football game, win or lose. So, there's bright spots. Obviously, your eye tends to go to the areas we need to improve, but we also need to make sure that when we talk to the kids, which we already did, that there's some good that came out of that football game. We were able to throw the ball, get some yards. At the end of the day, the turnovers killed us, and our inability to stop the run killed us, and that's the breaking point of that football game. If 5 turnovers on 15 possessions, that can't happen. 10 of those directly led to points. Could have just have been 14, just as easy as any. The defense did a great job of stopping them on the one area there when they got the ball, I believe around the 10-yard line on the fumble, and then your inability to stop the run late when you got to get the ball back.
Coach, one of the things that we talked with you about, and we've heard Coach Clune have one of the pillars of his defense is you got to stuff the run. And you guys did a very good job of that early, and, with injuries thinned an already thin position, and the heat kind of played a role in that. How did you feel your front 7 and your defensive line held up against the run game of Colorado State?
Well, I don't, first of all, I hope we're not out there acting like our depth or it was a scenario or an issue. We have some youthful players playing, and that's fine. Everybody does that. That's not an excuse. The heat, again, not an excuse in any way, shape, or form. I thought the defensive line played pretty well. They were stout. They were physical. They held up and did their part of the job at a pretty high level, in my opinion. We had some championship efforts, in our opinion, on the defensive line as they played in that football game. Titus, Kalani played extremely well. Thought Paisa was solid. So it was good to see that. We need to get better play out of the inside linebackers as a whole, and we need to get better play out of the outside linebackers as a whole. And I would also say, as one outside linebacker that I thought played very well in that football game was Jonathan Willis. He was tough. He was physical. We're asking him to do a lot, and it was great to see.
Coach, red zone defense, something that Coach Clune talks about all the time. They were 8 for 8. Is that a system thing? Is that just that was a hot team? What was the reason for the lack of success there?
Well, when we go back and we look at it, we have to study that extremely hard. They executed and we didn't. that is the bottom line down there. But 8 for 8 is off the charts, highly successful for them, and it's unacceptable for us. You cannot get down there and get in those positions. Now, 8 for 8 and they're all field goals, then we're doing all right. Or if 6 of them are field goals, your goal is to get 50% touchdowns to field goals in that area, and we weren't good enough down there is the bottom line in the red zone. So we'll look at the scheme, we'll get ourselves adjusted and put ourselves in a position to be able to play better within the red zone. I would say this, and Steve, you know this, there is a mentality, there's a belief system, and it's so critical and crucial when you're in the red zone on defense, in my opinion, even more so than within the middle of the field, that you have such precise communication. And then there has to be a young man that's a difference maker. If it's just run the ball and get 3 yards, run the ball and get 4 yards, run the ball and gets 3 yards, and it's a touchdown, it doesn't matter. And those plays in the middle of the field on 1st and 10 and it's 2nd and 7, that's a successful play. But in the red zone, 3-yard runs, 4-yard runs, those are not successful plays. It just gets them that much closer to the end zone. So when the field is condensed, you have to bow up, and you have to become a football team that relies on each other and plays with extreme toughness in those situations. And obviously, we did not do that in this last game.
All right, we got Coach Anderson in Corvallis. From the defense, we flip over to the offensive side of the ball. The performance of Jake Luton in his debut under center, and Ryan Nall strikes again with another long touchdown run for the Beavs. Beavers Inside the Huddle rolls on.
Can't miss plays. You can't miss those throws that you got to step up and make those plays. You got to hit the balls downfield, and you got to hit the short routes too to keep sustain drives. And so that's probably the biggest thing is just you're not going to be able to get away with some of the stuff I maybe have been before.
There he is, the quarterback of the Beavs, Jake Luton, on his performance week 1 against Colorado State. Steve Priest, Dusty Harrod, joined by Coach Gary Anderson in Corvallis.
Coach, Jake started with 304 yards. He threw for 57%. Sounds like a pretty good day for a young man with his first Big 5 conference football game. He stepped up. He did all the right things, and I thought that he took on a situation where a team puts 8 guys in the box, says we're going to stop what Oregon State does best, the running game, and we're going to make this guy perform. And he did a very good job. What was your rating on Jake for this game 1?
I thought Jake was solid. There's some throws that he'll definitely want back, and quite frankly, I expect more out of him, just like everybody on the offensive side of the ball. But Jake made some great throws. The play late that he threw the wheel route down there for the last score was a big-time throw, without a doubt. He had some great touches. He made some very good decisions. He hung in there in the pocket. I felt like he did a nice job there and had pretty good protection. So there's some throws he wants back. There's some things that he has to let just roll off his back also. When your receiver falls down and it's an interception, you got to move on to the next rep. And he's continually working through that and learning it. I don't think it fazed him as far as when it goes through there. Is he happy about 3 picks? Absolutely not. The tip ball, things are going to happen. And in that football game, they tip a ball, they run it back for a touchdown, their guy tips it, and he catches it and runs for a first down. There's just, you have to go through the process in the game and keep on fighting and battling. I felt like he stayed in it. He kept fighting throughout the whole game. He'll expect to get better. We expect him to get better, and we expect to coach him better and help him continue to move this offense down the field and score touchdowns.
He spread the ball around very well. He got Jordan Villeman back in it, 7 catches. He moved over to Noah very well with another 6. Really did a good job of finding the people on the field. Well, if he had any problem with what he was doing, it was just maybe throwing a little bit out of outside of the passing game. Is that your feeling too? He missed some things.
No doubt. There's some misses that he would love to have back, and I think that can be cleared up pretty quickly as we go through. And the one thing as a quarterback, you need to just make sure that take what's there. It doesn't have to be a bunch of home run balls to be a very effective and a highly effective offense with the way that Coach McGivern and Coach Phillips have coordinated the passing game. It's clear we have some good players. It's clear that the foundation of the throw game is very different than it was a year ago. We have more opportunities to get the ball to some good players. I was very proud of Jordan. I think Jordan is a great example of a young man that said, you know what, I'm going to do things the right way, on the field, off the field. I'm going to take care of my body. I'm going to eat right. I'm going to do all those things correctly. And it really showed in that first game, in my opinion, that he is ready to be a very good player in this conference. And Noah, we know Noah's a good football player, and he is a target that is a big big-time target. And you know, Isaiah, I thought, did a good job also. So they're growing, they're developing. It'll be nice to get Seth back into the mix right there. Trayvon made some huge plays down the sideline on the big catch before the half for the 2-minute drill. So there was good things out of the receivers. Jake will continue to work to get better. I think we're in a better spot than we have been there the first 2 years we were here, and hopefully that continues to move forward.
You know, Steve mentioned that Colorado State did a great job of stacking the box and kind of taking away the run game. You still average over 4 yards per carry on the game. And if you have outside that Ryan Nall 75-yard touchdown run, which is an impressive run in its own right, and great blocking up front, you had your other 28 carries were 2.75 yards per game, but you can't take those away because it was over 4 yards per carry. It sets the big guys up front and working in 5 different running backs in that game.
Well, I'm proud of the guys up front of adjusting to some things that came their way. And, you know, you said it right. You can't forget the 75-yard run. It's a tremendous play. It's blocked out well. Ryan's abilities really shown through heavy right there as far as making a tremendous play. The consistency in the run game, though, you can't just, it's 4.5 yards a carry or 4.4 yards a carry is good, but we still always look at it as a whole picture. We expect if we run the ball throughout a football game to have some big-time runs. Are they all 75-yard runs? No, but we want some big runs. We need to have a couple more of those in there to get that average up there even better. So we're inconsistent running the ball, to say the least, and that can't be who we are. Playing all those running backs was a positive. You know, I think one thing that as we move forward as an offense is we need to continually have more within the offense. We always need to be a program that focuses on, you know, having a lot for people to look at and a lot for people to practice. We have some very, very good weapons in that situation with those running backs. Getting them in a position to be more actively involved consistently, I think, can help us. You know, and we also have another good quarterback who's a good player who has some very good legs. So as we continue to go through and build this offense past camp and through the season, we'll have some more surprises for some people and, quite frankly, more foundation to our offense, which I think will really help us moving forward.
All right, it's time now for our Carrier Expert Picks, brought to you by your local Carrier Heating and Air Conditioning dealers. Carrier, turn to the experts. What do you got for us, Steve?
Noah Tonga. Coach, we've talked about Noah already. He's a guy that can do so many things. He had 7 catches. Actually, I thought it was 6, but for 67 yards this week. The key to him is he can get all over the field. He's a short throw, too, from that position he's playing, and has to be a comfort zone for Jake Luton. He's my pick, the expert pick, for the guy that can win a football game this week.
I would agree. You know, Noah is definitely a weapon, and he's kind of the unsung hero in the run game also. You know, he is doing a lot of those things on the counters and pulling, getting up to the next level, sustaining the line of scrimmage on the backside on the down play, and his role will continue to grow within the run game. And he has very natural hands. He runs great routes. You know, he's a very talented basketball player also, which helps him at that tight end position, be able to position and get in spots to make plays. He feels very comfortable with contested balls that are coming in on him, that he's going to catch the contested balls. So sounds like a pretty good pick to me.
All right, we will get to the coaches' keys to the game next as the Portland State Vikings roll down I-5 and into Reser Stadium to open up the home den for the first time this season. A new week is a new opportunity for the Oregon State Beavers, and with Steve Priest, I'm Dusty Hare, and Gary Anderson joining us live in Corvallis. Coach, this new week is Portland State rolling down I-5. What are your keys for the game come Saturday morning at 11 a.m.?
Well, the big thing for us is we need to establish an offensive identity against the defense that is, you know, very, very aggressive. And they were against BYU. They basically shut down BYU. BYU had a couple plays here and there, but for the most part, they were very successful, played at a high level against BYU at Cougar Stadium. So an offensive identity that has the ability to run the ball successfully, throw the ball successfully against some talented corners. They're extremely tough up front. They're physical. You know, number one is all over the place. He's built to be all over the place within the defense, and he is all over the place. He's a good football player. So this is a good defensive team. I like them. I like the way they run around. And on offense, the ability to be able to, stop the big play again will be big for us on the defensive side. Understanding that we need to be able to keep the quarterback within the pocket. He's an athlete. He likes to get out and move around. He can throw the ball successfully, which he did against BYU at times. They've got a big giant receiver that's an ex-basketball player out there that's definitely a threat. So there's some good 89. The wide receiver is a very good football player. They've got some talented running backs. So solid, sound defense, again, against the run and against the pass. Special teams needs to change the game in our favor, period. We need to find a way to make some big plays on special teams that swings the game in our favor, and that'll be the goal.
Coach, thank you for your time. Good luck this Saturday against the Vikings.
Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate it, guys. Have a wonderful week. Go Beavs.
All right, we got a host of Beavers shows right here on CSN, Talking Beavers every Wednesday night, 7 o'clock. Hey, it's us, Thursdays at 10. And Go Beavs every Friday night at 9 p.m. All right, Keys to the Game brought to you by your Northwest Honda dealer. Stop by your local Northwest Honda dealer. Visit us online at northwesthondadealers.com. Steve, what do you got?
Well, first of all, I take it where Coach left off. This is a talented quarterback, and he does a lot of things, including he runs the ball very well. The Bees need to stop the run. That's the first rule of defense. They had a pretty good week last week, but they need to do it, get it done quickly. Hold PSU under 50% in the red zone. 8 for 8 last week. They have to do different. Hopefully they won't be there. And no turnovers. The Beavers gave up 5 last time. Can't do it this week. No turnovers.
Ditto. All right, we'll be back next Thursday.